Welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. We're here for another week. I've got my man Robert Dani came through. You're gonna pick up the accent from Northern Ireland. I love the Irish. There's so many Irish people in Melbourne. It's amazing. But yeah, amazing house music DJ producer. Man, you've had a stellar 2024 already. They'll probably know you most notably from Walk With It, La La La, but then you've also had, you know, Talking to That Girl that came out most recently, Running Red Lights, Soul, Sick of Lovin'. Man, you've just been dropping music all year. It's
A
pretty
lot of
amazing.
songs. Yeah, thanks very much, bro. I've just trying to release as much music as possible, and hopefully just get more people on board. Because I used to be, I used to sort of stress out a lot about releasing music, but then at one point I just thought, if this music isn't out there for people to hear, then I'll never get any opportunities out of it. And it's been the best thing. It's just releasing as much music as possible and letting people decide, what's good and what's not. I can only do my best.
Yeah, why were you
So
overthinking it before?
I don't know. I think I used to maybe focus on like one track and I used to like overwork it, overcomplicate it, and then at the end of it, because I've heard the song so much, I used to then dislike the song and then not release it because I used to think that everyone else had the same experience as me, but mixing it, mastering it, just going over and over, you just get sick of hearing the same thing over and over again. So I think now my process is get the song to a standard where I'm happy with it, and then let people decide, whether it's good or not. It's not for me. Obviously, I like the music, so it's up to people then to decide whether they like it or not. Um, but yeah,
Because how long would you sit on a song for? Like, yeah, what was that period of time?
before, man, I used to sit on songs for months and months, and then I used to overthink it, and then I used to just think, look, it's not good enough. So then I used to not release it and just keep it in like, private on SoundCloud where nobody
Yeah.
could hear it. I was the only one listening to it. So then I could never get the feedback. Whereas now with me releasing constantly, I can get constant feedback, what's working, what's not working. Not every release is going to take off. That's what I've understood now. I've seen other artists like check out the likes of Calvin Harris or David Guetta, any of those big artists. If you look at the amount of songs that they released, and like not all of them have been hits, but it's just that 10% or 5% of songs that really, really do well. And it's up to people to decide what's good, as I say, and that's why I've stopped overthinking it. Because if you even look at their albums, there's songs in there that maybe wouldn't be the greatest, but they've still released it, they've still put it out to people to hear,
Yeah,
you
every
know?
artist has shit music. That's what people
100%.
forget. It's because, you know, and I felt the same way about podcasting is you listen to certain podcasts or music and you're like, the sound that they achieve in this song or this episode is like the best of its
Yeah,
class. But you
yeah.
forget how much time it took them to get to that point. Like, how many songs did they have to make? They didn't just make
Oh,
one song and then just
no,
release it.
definitely not. I listened to Calvin Harris's albums, and I think it was one of his biggest songs in that album. And if you listen to the rest of that, there's some songs in there where you would question it, like that. How did he even release this? But listen, it had to be put out there, and then it was up to everyone else to decide. Well, this is what's good. This is what maybe isn't, and not streaming as much. So yeah, it was the best decision ever was to not overthink my releases and just put it out there. Fuck it.
Well, there was an artist who said to me, a song is never done. Like
No,
it's
never,
never
that's
done.
never done and it's never perfect. It
Yeah.
can never, like, in your mind you think it is perfect product at the end of it. Um, but it's never. I'm always like, oh, I could have made this 5% or 1% better or whatever, but at the end of the day, your average listener who listening to the songs, they're not hearing it in the same way I'm hearing it. They're not picking up. They're just deciding whether it's good or not. And if it's good, they'll like it. No, they'll keep listening.
And they're not even deciding on the full song. They're deciding on like,
No,
hey, I'm going to listen to the first bit. I'm going to skip through the middle. I'm going to look for a drop. I'm going to look for the vocal, and then I'll make
Yeah,
my decision. That yeah. So you have a three
yeah,
minute song.
exactly.
They're making a decision off like 20 seconds.
100%. They're fast forwarding to the drop, and if the drop's good, man, that's all they care about. And then they'll add it to their playlist or whatever. So you know, that's the thing. I've got to stop. Or well, I had to stop to overthink it. I just keep releasing, you know.
And then on the
But
flip side, it's like you can't be too nonchalant. Like you can't be too like I'll just release everything because then the quality suffers. So there's like this weird
yeah,
balance that you have to strike.
definitely, definitely. There's some songs I'll still keep in the locker, you know, and I'll good way of doing it I found is like when I'm playing a DJ set, I'll drop songs that are unreleased so that I haven't nobody's heard it before. I'll drop it and then I'll see the sort of energy in the room. If it clears the dance floor, then you know, maybe it needs a lot of work, maybe it's not the right song. But if there's that connection straight away, if people are dancing, if people are happy enough, if you've got two normal songs either way or either side of it, and this song just keeps that energy, it's worth working on and you know getting it better and then you know going ahead and releasing it. That's what I found. Or even TikTok. If people on TikTok like it, then it's worth going ahead with it and then releasing it, you know.
Have you
But
found consistency amongst like crowds? Like when you play it for one crowd, is that consistent across most of the crowds that you play it across?
most of the time, you know, most of the time you get the odd. It depends on the like age range you're playing to. I think most of the younger crowds, I think they love most of the stuff. But then you'll get the in between, maybe like 30 to 40s, you could be maybe hit or miss sometimes. So you've got to sort of weigh it up, maybe play the song out in different crowds and see, you know, overall, is it sort of connecting with people? And then make a decision based on that, you know? Um, that's basically it.
That would mess with me. I'm not going to lie. Like it would mess with me to be like, hey, what's the demographic? What's
Hmm.
played on either side? What was the lead in? Because sometimes it's not even the song itself. It's like, how did the set mix? Maybe it just wasn't the
Yeah.
right mix of it and it didn't build the right energy for it to land well. And so all of those things, yeah, no wonder, no wonder musicians overthink it because I've spent 30 seconds thinking about what you're doing. I'm like, there is just so much that goes into it.
No, like whenever you're DJing, you're thinking, you're not just thinking about the songs, you're thinking about the room, you're thinking about the energy, you're thinking about everything. You know, you're trying to look at the picture. It's not just like where I'm going the next 20 seconds or the next minute, it's where you're going over the next half hour. Like you have to sort of have it all mapped out in your head, and that's what's difficult, you know. So but if your song blends in well and if it gets a good crowd reaction, you know, sometimes maybe I'll play it to crowd and there's no reaction, but you can play it to somewhere else in another club and it'll go really well. You have to make a decision, you know. That's the hardest thing about it. Um, the DJing and then the producing is like you have to your music has to stand up to like the likes of your Calvin Harris and whatever. It has to stand up to that quality in order for people to react to it in that way, you know?
Well, how do you then compare it? Because, we're talking about Calvin Harris. He is at the top of the game. So
Yeah.
how do you compare to someone like that, but then also trust yourself enough to be like, because I don't know, I'm imagining trying to write a song and I'm comparing it to Biggie, Tupac, and I just would
Mhm.
never feel comfortable to release it just based on the fact that they're so high or they're like goated in a way. So how do you like compare yourself, but then also let yourself kind of it's like aspirational in a way.
Yeah, it's just the energy. I know it might sound a bit geeky, like, but it's just the energy your song has. It's the frequencies. It's just the overall power and the impact of it. So if it has like it's all to do with how you arrange a song, how you make it interesting and not so people don't get bored of it, and then how it sort of hits on the dance floor, the impact of it. So if you have like sections of your song that are really, if it's really high energy all the time, it's not going to have no impact. So you've got to have like contrast in your songs. If a song has got that and it's got enough interesting bits in it, fuck it. You have to put yourself up against those people at some point because like if you don't, then you'll never be at that sort of stage. Do you know what I mean? So what I've been trying to do is just sort of map it out and see, well, look, if you believe that it's good enough, then you have to go with it. You have to go with your gut instinct, and then just reference your music and just make sure that all your frequencies are sitting right when it plays in the club. And that's all it's about.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees. It's not as just as easy as making a track. Oh fuck, it's out. There we go.
Well, that's what everyone, feel like that's what everyone thinks about DJs is like,
Yeah.
well, all you do is you get a song, you just go up there, you fuck around for a little bit, you have a bit of fun, and then you sit back and watch the cash roll in.
Definitely not. Definitely not, man. I had one of my friends actually. I seen him at a gig, and the room was kind of quiet. So I was like, "Look, if you're interested, like, I'll give you a shot at it." And he was sort of just looking at it, like what I do and all. And I was like, "Right, you've seen it. Go ahead, like mix it." And no clue whatsoever. And people just think that it's as easy. You're just pressing a button like that there all night, but it's not that. You've got to observe everything in the room. You've got to be thinking 5, 10 minutes ahead of time. So it's
Yeah, you're
it's
playing
definitely,
chess, they're playing checkers.
yeah, exactly. They're just enjoying themselves. You got to keep that energy up, the whole night. But yeah, there's more to it than people see for
And
sure.
and are you making judgment calls like throughout the set? Like, are you going, all right, this isn't going the way I want, or this is going better than I want, and so I'm gonna mix something up? Or are you pretty like, hey, I need to see it all the way through? Like, what is your kind of thought process? Because you're thinking so far ahead.
You've got to judge it. You've got to judge it on like a song to song basis. Like what's gonna first of all what's gonna work with the next song or what's gonna work with a previous song. But you've got to look how that song is doing on the dance floor at the time as well. So you've got to be like, right, this song maybe isn't going too well. I need to switch it up, or this song is going really well. I need to keep the same energy, or maybe the crowd has had enough of this. I need to slow it down a bit. I need to drop the energy a bit, give them a bit of time to recover, you know, and then bring it back up again. You need to be looking at all those things the whole time in your set. So
Yeah, it really is that contrast.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, you've got to be looking at that throughout your set because you could like when I started, I never used to look at the crowd. I used to have like a set list of songs, like say, I don't know, like 50, 60 songs, and I used to sort of just play it. And I never looked at the crowd. I was always down like this. And like looking at it now, I sort of cringe because you need to be looking at the crowd. You need to be looking at what people are doing. I used to just put my head down and just DJ. And well, I'm doing my job, so like they can't be complaining, but the crowds weren't too happy at that point. Like
Why were you
because
doing that? Like, why were you not looking at the crowd?
I think I was just nervous. I was just nervous. I'm not the most extrovert person. And the reason why I started doing DJing was because I couldn't really speak to people. So I just wanted to like play music to people. Always enjoyed playing music in people's cars and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, I can do this, but there was definitely more to it. When I started, I was just nervous and I didn't want to look up at the crowd. There wasn't like maybe that many people there, and it was really hard to keep like 10, 15 people dancing. So I sort of just went into myself and just looked at the music and just said, well, as long as I can just get through this, I should be all right. But at one point, I definitely looked at it and said, well, I've got to look at the crowd. I've got to know how people are feeling and then go from there and base my sets on that. People are going to be overall happier, you know?
That is
So
such a
that's,
funny mindset for a DJ to be in. Like, just I got to get through this. Just like, oh, I'm just doing my job. I got to get through this. I got to like
Some
that.
nights are like that, bro.
Yeah.
Some nights are like that where you just have to put your head down and fucking mix, and that's about it, you know. But most nights now I enjoy it. I've got to the stage where I enjoy playing to people. I understand it more now than I did before, and it's more enjoyable for me. It's more enjoyable for the crowd, and put my own productions in there, and it's definitely starting to pay off now. Definitely.
Which is weird because, like, in hindsight, you're like, of course, that was always going to happen. Of course, I was going to do it more and learn and get better and feel more confident as I do it and as I put myself out there more and more. Like, isn't that weird? At the time, you must have been like, why is this sucking? And now you're like, of course, it was
Yeah,
just time that you needed.
yeah. I needed to put the time in it, and I needed to work more on the productions as well, because you get, if your productions get up to a certain standard, then maybe bigger venues are willing to book you, and clubs, nightclubs, and all that. There, I've been lucky enough to get more residencies in nightclubs where it's they take a look at your music, they take a look at where you've played before, and then you're open to a bigger audience. Then you're open to more people coming in, they're paying at the door, and it's better than maybe a small bar where your audience isn't going to be so much music focused. It's just going to be people out for their Saturday, Friday nights or whatever. So when you play in a nightclub and you hear your productions on a nightclub system, then it starts feeling like, yeah, this is starting to get good now. I can't drop the ball now. And that's what I always keep thinking. Once once you reach a certain level, you can't let yourself go back down again. And that's why the productions have started to get better, because I understand what works in a club now. So it's a journey for sure. At the start, I remember it was one of the guys I met up where I'm living now. He was called Darren, and he was a DJ in the local nightclub. And I didn't know him or nothing. I just went up to him and I was like, man, how do you do this? And I would love to like learn, uh, and he just basically took me under his wing, and he taught me stuff, and he handed me decks to practice on for my first sort of gigs, and he was a really big help for me. So sometimes it's just a question of finding like a mentor, finding somebody who's already doing it, and getting you in that. And he was definitely a big help for me.
Yeah. You need someone
But
to be like, you can do it, and here's how, and I'm going to
yeah,
support you and not expect anything in return. Like,
yeah, exactly.
that's
He was
the,
definitely that. He was that. I remember the feeling. I was producing before I was DJing, so I was making music before that, but it wasn't getting heard in clubs or nothing like that. And I was like, darn, I know you're playing in Port Stewart. Would you be okay to drop this song? And I was out with my friends. I wasn't expecting anything, and then he dropped the song. I remember taking a video of it, and I remember just that feeling. I could never get sick of it. Hearing your song playing in a nightclub, that was just magic. Like, that was that was a different level. That's what inspired me to do what I'm doing now. Because I was
where were
definitely like,
you?
there's something in this,
Like, what,
you know.
where were you when you first heard your own music at the club? Like, do you remember the bar or the club that you were in?
Yeah, it was called bar. What was it? It was called Havana nightclub, Port Stewart. It was just a no local nightclub, and it used to be really popular. We all used to go there, and Darren was the main DJ at the time. And I just remember sending him the song, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I might play it out, see how it goes." And the club was so busy and everything; it was full. And I remember it coming on. I was like, "Wow, this is class. This is amazing." This is amazing. And I could never get sick of that. So it was from that point onwards, I was like, right, time to get to work. Just put in the hours, and I'll get to that position, some point.
Yeah. Because I remember the first time I heard a song from an artist I interviewed at a bar.
Mhm.
Um, and that felt amazing. So I can only imagine how it would have felt to like hear your own music. Because I just remember
Yeah.
just being at a random bar, and just like I was
Huh?
on a date and then it just
Yeah.
came on in the background and the date was okay and I couldn't help
Uh-huh.
myself. I had to tell her. I was like, I interviewed the artist who made that song. Meant nothing to her, but it meant like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a connection to the
The
work that you
connection
put
is
in.
unreal. The connection that you get from listening to that, from hearing that somewhere is unreal, like, And it's not the same. It's like sitting on the laptop making a song. Okay, you get that connection with it, but seeing it on a stage, seeing it in a nightclub or at a venue is just different. Like it's just makes it all worth it. I could definitely relate to what you're saying when you're hearing a song out somewhere and it's class, like definitely is.
Well, I would be surprised if I heard this podcast at a club or at a bar. That would be an interesting energy if they chose to play this. But never say never. They might
Oh, well, this is it.
choose
I
to.
might whack it in one of my sets. Just start off with a podcast, a kick drum over it.
Yeah, well, hey,
No?
if someone can figure out a way, I'm sure it's you who can figure out a way. You know,
Yeah, I'll
I'll
I'll make a remix of it.
I'll you know what? You say if you want me to say anything for you, do people call you Rob? Is that what people usually call you?
Yeah, like Robbie, like Robert, Robbie, anything like that.
Well, if there's anything you want me to say, I'm down. I can send you the vocals. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah,
No,
you just let
100%.
me know.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and don't worry, I won't be like I'll send you a licensing fee. You can have it. It's
It's like you'll say, "Oh, this is Robert Dani in the mix." Oh, you've not paid your Spotify subscription, by the way, and then put in like an ad at the end.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, we can work on it offline, whatever you want, man. I'm totally down to to fuck around with your crowd. That'd be so funny.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, let me ask you about vocals because I noticed that typically in your songs you have like a female vocal that you
Uh-huh.
have when you're choosing a vocal. How does that work with like what you're trying to put and build into the sound?
Oh, vocals are a nightmare, man, to be honest. Well, not a nightmare as in hearing them, but the amount of shit vocals you have to go through is just unbelievable, man. Like, there's this app Splice, and it has loads and loads of samples, drum samples, vocals, pianos, whatever. All you can ask for. There's vocals in there. There's famous vocals in there, that people have used. But you've just got see finding it is it's just a different game. It's like trying to search. You're sitting there searching for hours just for a good vocal. Once you do find that vocal though that fits your song, it's worth it. But it's one of those things you've really got to search for it. Not every vocal is going to give you that feeling. But the times when I do find a banging vocal, I'm like, yes, that's gonna work. Like that's good. I'd love to maybe get more vocalists on board and writers and stuff. Maybe I will later on in my career, but it's just at the minute I'm trying to make more original music and using Splice just allows me to do that. Once I find a vocal, I'm over the moon, to be honest. It makes all the waiting just worth it. So it does.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, I think, when you talk about the process of like, hey, you're searching and it's like difficult. And I'm sure you go through the process of like, oh, I found one that might fit. And then it's good,
yeah,
but it just doesn't work. And you're like,
yeah,
oh, I was so close. And
yes,
like those
yeah,
feelings are like what cuts, like, what's the difference between success and not success? Because like, I'm sure there are people who have gone through what you've gone through and they're just like, nah, fuck
100%.
this. Like, I'm just not willing to do
Yeah,
it anymore.
yeah. I've seen a lot of people go through it, and maybe they just don't have the patience to just be like, listen to one more vocal. But that could be the difference. You could be listening to 1,000 vocals that day, and the 1,001st one could be the vocal that changes your life, and that's what people don't understand. You know, there's so many songs out there on the charts, even in the UK, that I'm listening to it and I'm like, fuck, I heard that on Splice. Like, you know, and you're just like, well, it's out there. People are doing it. So it's only a matter of finding that right vocal and having the right track. And you're on there. Like, these people have done it. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I speak to, down in Ireland. Friends have done it. They've gotten into the charts. They've gotten hits. It's doable. So you've just got to keep going until you do it yourself, you know? That's the game.
Does it motivate you when you see the splice or hear the splice that you've heard before?
100%. It just shows that it can be done, you know, and it shows that people out there are using the same app that you're using. You know, they're making a hit song with it. So it's definitely not the app's fault. So it's got to be with me. I've got to put in the work and I've got to find that right vocal. And the one thing is you've got to find a vocal that no one else has used before either. It's not just finding a vocal, it's finding a vocal that's good. It's finding a vocal that no one else has used before and then making it work in your production and then, you know, making that a hit. So there's a lot of factors in there. Definitely, you
Well,
know?
what I like about when you talk about it is like you just seem so invested in it. Like the motivation is clear, the goals are clear. Like when I speak
Yeah.
to some people, they're telling me the right things, but I just don't
Hmm.
believe it. Like they're saying it, but I don't feel it. And then with
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you say it and I feel it. Like it's genuine
yeah.
that
Yeah.
like you genuinely believe like it is so possible and 100% it
It
is. And
is.
that's the
It is.
message.
I've seen so many people, man. You'll not believe it. Like, no, messaging them on Instagram and just being friends, and then the next thing, fuck their songs in the charts. So you're that close. Maybe some of these people messaging you, oh fuck, I like your song, and then the next, like, I'll give you an example there. Really big at the minute in the UK is Cameron Watson and Bless with their song Kisses. I don't know if you heard it or
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Like they're really big in Ireland, and it was your guy Bless messaged me, "Hey, you know that song Walk With It? It's a banger." Next week he's in the fucking charts in the UK. So like you're this close to people. It's got to fucking happen at some point. It's just gonna be undeniable, you know. It's got to happen, and I believe it. You know, you've got to believe in it.
Well,
And
Rob, that's going to happen to me with you. He's like, we're going to do this interview and then you're going to be in the charts. And I'll be like, my man, Rob, like
yeah,
we just spoke and now he's in the charts and he's killing it.
you've got to believe it's gonna happen. You know, that's where it starts. And I think for a long time I just blamed everyone else. I just was like, oh well, they're doing it because of this or they're doing it because of, you've got to be inspired by the people that do well because they're just normal people too, and they're just putting in hard work as well, the same way we are. So we've got to believe that it's going to happen, you know. If you're that close to that circle of people and it's happening for them, then you've got to believe it's going to happen for you. It's going to eventually, like, you know.
If this podcast is not proof that everyone I talk to is a normal person, then I don't know. Well, I don't know what
Every,
is. Like,
everybody's normal, man. Everybody's just trying to do the same things. I think once the thing I see a lot is like I think once people maybe get a hit song or once people like succeed in whatever way, I think people sort of like stop talking to them or stop treating them like they're a normal person, but that's not true. They're just like everyone else. They've just, um, well, certainly got a good song, got a bit lucky, and then they've made it. But it doesn't change them as a person. It just means they've worked really hard for it, and that's all that separates people, you know.
yeah, it's weird
Uh,
because I've spoken to varying levels of musicians.
mhm.
And yeah, it doesn't matter if you've got a hit song or not a hit song. And like you just have a conversation and everyone has their own shit going on. Everyone's talking through their own process. Everyone's talking through their own insecurities, what they believe in, all that stuff. And you're like, oh, I don't know why I was
Yeah,
so nervous about this because you're just a normal
exactly.
person. And
You could be sitting, you don't know what's going on in people's heads. You could be sitting, I could be sitting here and I'm just making songs and I'm having fun. But the person who could be having a hit song, he's worried about like what's going on next. Like, are people not going to like me or worrying about what he's going to produce? Maybe if I get a hit song, I'll be at that stage too. Then I'll be worried about are people going to like my next song or every stage of the process, there's things that people worry about, and it's never going to stop, you know. It's just a different problem. It's a different solution you've got to find to deal with it, you know. And at the minute for me, it's just got to deal with, you know, I'm not where other people are at the minute, but it's got to be stay focused, stay on that road. Don't give up, you know. Don't give up on the process.
But then
Just
in
what it is.
comparison, the amount of people that would swap positions with you is still a fuckload. Like
Yeah,
the amount of
I
people
was
that
like
would
that.
have your songs and would have the music that you're putting out and have your spots at clubs and all those things, the
Yeah,
amount of people that would actually trade places with you today is still
yeah.
immense. And that's
I don't.
always an important piece to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Like me last year, I had hardly any streams on Spotify. Like that was one of my main goals. I don't know if I have a screenshot of it or anything like that there, but I think it was last year I had like, I don't know, like maybe 2,000 streams or something like that, maybe less, maybe like 1,500 streams. I was like, fuck, something's got to change here. And I put out Can't Rely and I put out Walk With It, and now it's, over 100,000 streams. And I'm happy with its progress. Like, do you know what I mean? It's definitely progress from last
Happy
year.
man, that's like 50 times growth in the space of
Yeah,
less than 12 months. Like
yeah,
that's the weird thing. If you double your growth
yeah, every year.
consistently every year, you'll be amazing. But
I
if you
know.
50x your growth every year, then
Yeah,
that's insane. So I think it's like sometimes we're so excited to go from zero to the moon, but it's like
yeah,
you got to get there. You got to like take it. It like takes time, and then
exactly.
it exponentially grows over
I think
time.
people think if you don't go from 0 to 1,000, like then they just give up because there's a bit in the middle there where you're not so sure. Do you know what I mean? Like where I think sometimes, fuck, there's no point. Like, what's the point in this? Like, I'm not at the top, so what's the point of keeping going? But I've seen the growth and I've seen the songs, and the big thing for me was making original songs because I've always made remixes, remix. But thing about that, you can't get paid for that. You can't get royalties. You can't get credit for it most of the time because it's not an official remix. So I was like, I've got to make original music that people like. That was the sort of challenge for me. How do you make something that's your own, but something that people will like as well? It's there's so many like not remixes, but like um people take an old song and then just make it different. And I think it's not really cheating, but it's like that's somebody else's work at the end of the day. You've got to like make something yourself. That's got to live, a lot longer than maybe something that's taken from somebody else's work and then just repurposed, like these days in the charts. That's all I sort of see now. It's not
Yeah,
many
that
original
that
songs.
pisses me off so much. I hate
Yeah,
that.
bro.
I
Like
think
it's
it's
all right.
hacky.
Yeah. I think it's all right, like maybe sampling somebody's song, like a certain part of the song, but see ripping off an entire song and maybe changing the melody, like there's no real creative in that. It's just a business sort of thing because it's worked before, it's going to work again,
It's
So
money generation. That's all it is.
it's,
It's let
yeah,
me get the royalties, and I know I purchased the royalties for a fraction of the cost. My market
yeah,
is significantly bigger. I'll probably
yeah,
make X amount of money on this, and that is all
yeah,
it is.
exactly.
I 100% agree with you. It
Yeah,
Nothing pisses me off more than like I know this song and it was a hit back then and it's a hit
yeah,
now. And all you
yeah.
did was you put in some shitty vocals over the top and you called it a remix. And that
I know, bro.
is not music. Like that is just pure money making. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we've gone into a rabbit hole
exactly.
of things that pisses me off like nothing else.
Like, see, whenever you make something like Can't Rely, when I was sitting making it, and you come up with something that's like fresh, no one's ever heard that before, and it works. It's a different feeling because then you haven't taken that from someone else and just made it like, dressed it up in a different way.
Well, it's like
That was
movies,
the
man.
thing.
It's like when they
Yeah.
remake movies, and I'm like, leave it the fuck alone. Come up with a new idea. Stop remaking all these movies
Like,
that were
you ever see,
good and
bro?
then fuck them up.
I fucking I watch like shark films, and it's always the same fucking story over. Like there's like 10 guys, 9 of them are gonna die, and they're gonna make you think that that one person's gonna die as well, but then they just survive to kill the shark, and then that's it. Same story. See, one thing that did surprise me though is that there was a movie that came out about a shark, but this shark made it to fucking Paris. So I was like, oh yes, somebody's thought about something else.
Oh, they've just changed the location.
I really enjoyed that one. I can't lie now.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was a good one.
but man, those movies, like, when they're gonna remake all the classics, there's a period they will remake The Godfather. We just have to wait for long enough, and they will 100% remake it. Like
Oh yeah,
all these
that's
all these classic movies, they're just gonna remake, and it's so annoying. I honestly hope I'm dead by that point. I hope it's so far in the future that I'm not alive to be angry about it. So
yeah.
like, but I don't know, it's annoying. But then I also know that like current audiences probably don't have the patience to sit through like I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's a classic. And then I'm like, well, tough shit.
That's the thing I don't know. It's like whenever people look back at this period in time, like what are they gonna see? They're just gonna see stuff copied from like 50 years before, which is like, you have to make something that's gonna be from this generation, something new. I think when music started, everything was new to people, and I think that's what made it exciting. Everything was new, everything was fresh. Anything you came up with was good. So I think people have lost that feeling now where it's like, we still have the power to make something different and something fresh. You just have to look a bit harder, you know? That's
It's
all it
the
is.
it's the popcorn kind of junk food era of music where it's like quick, turn it over. That's entertainment. It's like the let me consume it quickly. It's not sustainable. It's not going to feed me for a long period of time. It's not going to get lots of replays. It's not going to be classic. It's just going to be something I have for a bit and then I get rid of it onto the next
That's
similar,
what I've
slightly different.
majority of things in my sets nowadays is there'll be a big song, right? And I'll be there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But then my set always goes back to the ones that were always good, the classics, and they always work. But the ones up on top, they always just rotate around. There's not many songs that actually stay in that, like in that sort of column where it's always going to be classic. It's always going to be the one that you play, which is it's a bit annoying in a way, because then, you're playing the songs that are going to work, obviously, but I want more songs to be in that classic bit, in that classic area where I can play them. And you just it's gotta be extra special nowadays. It's gotta be something that's connecting on a different level, not just that quick 15 seconds and then it's fucking gone 2 weeks later, I think that's the sad thing about it
I
nowadays.
think I think the weird thing is how much money plays a role in what gets made. That they know
Oh,
they can sell it. Like if you made no money, would you make the same song? And I think the answer would be no.
yeah, exactly. That is definitely the case for some people, 100%. It's like it's turned on its head, like because the way it used to be you used to have the talent and then the talent got paid, but now you're looking to see what's gonna pay you instead of focusing on the talent. It's definitely different. It's different nowadays, but I can't complain. It's just the age we're in.
Well,
And you've got to make it
musicians don't make all their money off music anymore. Like
That's true.
music
Yeah,
isn't the predominant thing that pays them. Like they might do shows, but if you're not getting shows, you're getting paid off social media. Like you're selling something else. The amount of people that don't just sell their music, they sell a whole realm of different products. You're like, oh,
yeah.
you're not a musician. You're just like a brand. Like you're a
Business. Yeah,
lifestyle brand.
yeah, exactly. That's what's different. Well, it gives you more revenue streams that way. Like I would love to get up to that place where I'm selling my own merch and all that sort of stuff. But my music's my main focus, that's what I'm most into. And I think all that other stuff it will be secondary. Like the music's got to come first for me personally, like, you know, and then worry about the rest then when it comes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just admire the people who are like, nope, I'm going to do my thing and everyone else can go fuck themselves. And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. And I couldn't give a flying fuck if you do.
Oh,
And I
couldn't give a fuck.
love that attitude from an artist. I'm like, that's your job.
The TikTok thing and all that stuff, that'll go away, but your music won't. Do you know what I mean? And that's that you've got to stand by that, your product and what you do. Because something else might come around the corner, another app, TikTok, something else might come out next year. Maybe it's more music focused, maybe it's not, but the music's still gonna be there. Do you know what I mean? All that, the hype might disappear, but you've got to focus on the music. That's what's gonna take it. It's a good way to be discovered though, the TikTok, to
Yeah.
be honest. So you've got to use it while it's there. It doesn't have the same reach now that it used to, but you've got to use it while it's there just to take advantage of it. But as long as the product's good, as long as the music's good, it'll translate, over all these different social medias and stuff.
I do wonder what's next though. That's the thing that I think about is like,
Nothing else,
what's the
bro.
next thing?
There'll be like 0.5 second clips of people just like, I don't know, playing one song. It's like, oh, when's that coming out? Can't wait to get my hands on that one.
Or it'll be multiple screens. You just choose which audio you want, and like, I don't know.
We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens, bro. But it's got to be like, if music is my main interest, it's got to be about the music first of all, and then everything else comes after. And like so I've seen Duke Dumont. I don't think he's big on social media or TikTok or any of those things, but like he put on a show in Dublin, I think it is, and it's already sold out. And I don't even think he promoted it or not. Like people just know his music and that's it. And he's not on TikTok every 2 seconds or doing a dance or some shit like that. But he's got that core audience that loves his music, and that's what they relate to him. And that's
Yeah.
that's what I want to be someday. Is
I
just
just
someone
think
who's
it's
about music.
embarrassing to do those trends. Like,
Oh fuck.
I,
I know.
I don't know. Like, maybe this is just me and this is purely my own perspective. And, whatever. You do you is always my message. Like, if you want to do it, go do it. But, like, God, the trends are so embarrassing. It's like, can you
I
not
know.
have anything different? Like, do you,
My
like,
girlfriend give me money one, or did you see that one in Australia yet? The one where
uh,
it's like, give me the money and then everyone cheers and then the last person sort of gets left out.
no.
That one. No, basically it's just another trend, but like people would do anything for just that 5 second bit of clout. That's all it is.
Yeah, what I love is the ones where the camera is like the phone is here, like it's in front of you and you're filming, and then you're like, oh, like, can you, like, how do you not see the phone? It has to be all, you know what I'm like? If my girlfriend was set up a phone and had it up and asked me a question, I'd be like, that's not, like, how is that not obvious?
Not real life anymore. People, I know I keep telling my girlfriend all the time, but she tells me too, like, live. We don't live in reality anymore. We live through a screen, and it's like you've got to live in the real, like this is reality, what's around you, not what's in your fucking phone, man. Like I went to football last week and I always leave my phone in the car. So we had like a break in between the sessions. I was sitting down at the table, everyone was on their phone. And like everyone at that table was on their phone. We're all together and nobody's talking. Like I just felt so stupid. But that's some people are in. People are not living in reality anymore. That's
The
so sad.
irony is, my friend, is that you're the actual one who's not stupid.
Yeah. It's just you're trying to live life and then it's like nobody else wants to live a life anymore. It's all through a screen.
Yeah. The weird thing that I find about like the phone and social media is like you'll look through it and you're like, God, the world is fucked. And then you look
Mhm.
up and you're like, it's sunny outside and I have people that love me and life is good. And you're like,
Yeah.
huh, it's
It's
so much
mental.
better if I just
Yeah.
stop spending time looking at my phone. It's depressing as shit.
No, it is. It is. It's the whole you've got your eyes on what everyone else is doing, but then you're not focused on what you're doing. And that's like I try to, when I can, just stay off it. Just it's not really the only thing I do enjoy playing though is I don't know if you ever seen this guy on TikTok. He does these like, what's it called? It's like a geo map thing, and he sort of pinpoints. Do you know
Yeah,
the guy
yeah,
I'm on about?
yeah. I
He
think I've seen
finds
a
the place
couple
in
of
like
those.
0.1 seconds. He like finds. That's one thing now that I've gotten into is really interesting. Trying to find different places around the world. I'm definitely into that now.
Yeah, I think
But
there's one because he might be the same guy, but there's a photo of a landscape and he
yeah,
like tries to figure out where it is really quickly. He's like
yeah.
the last
And
one, I think. Yeah,
there's one, there's one where he's blindfolded and like the guy is describing to him where it is, and he still gets it. Oh God. No,
yeah.
there's some things out there.
There's some good shit as well. For all the hate that we say, the people who find their lane, who have their own like niche of creativity. There's like this one, he's from Long Island. He's like this fat Italian bloke. And
Mm.
he's American, and his wife always brings him food in the pool. And he's always and he's just like sitting in the pool and he's like and she's trying to get him to lose weight. So she's always like, hey, it's healthy. And it's just so good. It's so simple, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just so unique. And he's very fat and he's always just I don't know, the ones where they eat food, I'm like, you got me.
yeah, exactly. All the food ones. Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely love them now. I like anything food related. I'm
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So does that mean you cook or are you just like, I just love seeing it?
Yeah, well, I used to do a bit of chefing, so
Oh,
I all the time. So I'll like try out new recipes and stuff. Like my girlfriend, she loves me cooking. Like she wants me to cook primarily, because I've had that experience. But I love cooking. I'm trying to be on a diet now, right enough. So we have like one cheat day or something like that, or one cheat day every 2 weeks. So I'm trying to stick to that. But still, I love cooking nice food. I
what's
really
your
do.
go-to? Like, what do you like cooking?
There's this I used to love making risotto, like risotto salmon. Don't know if you ever had it before.
Yeah.
Banging or anything like pasta, like a creamy pasta with mushrooms and chicken and it's just delicious. Bit of garlic bread or something like that. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Well,
So
because I actually like cooking as well. I think in another life I could have been a chef, but the hours are just not for me. I was like, no, I can't, I don't want to. But I do love cooking. And my
cooking for the
girlfriend
family,
is sorry, sorry.
definitely.
And
Cooking for the family at home is definitely good and it's different to chefing. I'll tell you that.
yeah.
It's definitely a lot better. I enjoyed it a lot more.
Well,
So
my girlfriend's vegetarian. And so
oh
like so
you have a
it's not that do you know what it is? It's like what I've found enjoyable is like how do I find recipes that are still good that like
uh,
are tasty and interesting and not boring. Like that's
exactly.
that's what it is. And so like I'm like, hey, I don't mind cooking because I found this cool way to like make this. Like I made a cauliflower steak with a butterbean puree and like a
Uh,
salsa verde, and it actually tasted so good. And I was like, man, I'm
pretty good, man.
impressing myself. Like, because I don't want to eat bland food either. So
It's
like,
great.
yeah.
It's something vegetarian being creative with it is definitely that it's a skill like to cook that way.
And then
So fair
also,
play,
if you can make the vegetarian good, you can make the meat good too. Like that's the other
100%.
thing. They're not like
100.
exclusive to one another. Like you learn from all of it.
Would you ever sneak a bit of meat in there, or would you
Not
be
for her. No, no, no. I'm not vegetarian, so it's not a problem for me. Like I just eat. She's not like one of those people who's like, you have to do it. She's fine. She's like, if you want to go eat that steak, go eat that steak. So it's not like that type
that's
where,
that's good.
yeah,
That's 100%. It's not limiting to yourself, which is good, you
no.
know.
I
But
think it's just a respect thing. I've never understood why people give a shit about what other people eat. It's like this
no,
most of
like
it's
I
weird.
would I would eat anything, but also say if somebody was vegan or vegetarian, I'd be like, you do what you want, but don't try to tell me what to eat. You know what I mean? It's like I don't really care if you eat vegetables or you don't eat this or that. So, you know, it
I
goes
think
both
they get it the
ways.
worst. I think meat eaters love love like I've been in so many conversations where like the meat eater is like, why don't you eat meat? Like, and it's like, you know why they don't eat meat. Just shut the fuck up and let them do their thing.
Man, crack on, whatever. Like, I just love meat. You crack on. You know,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing.
It's weird.
So,
It's so funny though. Like people are so funny.
oh, 100%, man. 100%.
You know, I
But
got to say, for someone who said that you're an introvert and you were scared about your speaking ability, you're doing fucking well. There's been no lag, no nothing. It's going great.
yeah, thank you, bro. No, it's been good speaking to you. It's been good speaking to you. We'll definitely keep in touch, like, so we will.
Yeah.
And
And as I said off camera, your accent is nowhere near strong enough. Because for anyone who doesn't know, we were talking before this, like messaging, and you were like, "Hey, man, I'm not 100% sure. Like, my accent's pretty strong, and there hasn't been one moment where I haven't understood a thing you've said."
yeah, well, that's all right then. I was just worried because we talk very fast. We do have a what do you call it? We're notorious for talking really fast and people not understanding what we say. But I'm glad that it's translated across.
Who knows? Maybe you'll let me in on the like you'll speak quickly. From this point, you'll like really test
Oh,
me.
speaking to my girlfriend, it would definitely be a lot quicker. We would be on miles.
Well, you can
But
you can test me. I think I'm pretty good, to be honest. I think, most of the people I interview are not Australian. So I think I've gotten pretty attuned to picking up like the words and listening.
people from where you interview the most, America, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
Americans.
Is there many rappers about like Australia and stuff as well? Are
Yeah,
they?
there are, but they all want to make it in the US. Like that's like the golden
Mhm.
place where everyone wants to go. So it's just the
Exactly.
mecca. It's like the mecca of the music. So that's where everyone wants to go. I don't know. I have a controversial opinion on Australian hip hop. Is that I'm not a huge fan of the accent, and it
Yeah.
kind of drives me a bit nuts. Like it's almost like I'm hearing myself, and I'm like, and maybe it's because I'm not used to it. It's just
Yeah.
like I've been growing up on American hip hop, like, and then when
Yeah.
I hear the Aussie, I'm like, no. But I hear British and I hear Irish and I'm like, that sounds good. So I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. It's like the only thing that I'm not a fan of Australia's.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's people in Northern Ireland that do rap as well. I would encourage you to listen to that because that is actually I can't listen. Maybe it's because the same thing, the accent. You're hearing the same accent you're speaking and it just some accents just don't work with rap. It's just not to the point enough, not clear enough. Like thing about rap is it needs to be clear. You need to understand it. And for us to be such a small country, not everybody's gonna understand what we've got to say.
Well, that being said, there are heaps of rappers that I'm like, I have no idea what you said, but it sounds good. Like,
Something, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, they don't say it anymore, but it's like, they've got really thick accents. There are some that are like super Southern or like, they come from Atlanta and they're using all slang and it's not universal. And so it
Uh,
takes a minute for you to like attune your ear. Like, definitely some interviews where I've had my brother listen to an interview once and he was like, Aaron, I have no idea how you understood what he was talking about. I have absolutely no fucking idea what he said.
yeah. That's a hard one, bro. Definitely is. But listen, thanks very much for having me on
Well,
on the
well, hold on,
podcast.
buddy. I got one more question before you run off.
Oh,
I got one more
that's all
question.
right. That's
Yeah.
all right.
You're the first person to wind up on me. Usually I'm the one who does the winding up.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, bro. Sorry. Go on ahead. Go on ahead. No, we were just sort of talking about personal stuff.
yeah.
So I just wanted to keep going there.
Well, there
But
is no, like I said, there's no rules on the show. We can talk about personal stuff on this show. My theory on this show is whatever we talk about, that's our decision. If you want to listen to it, that's up to you.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
but
It
yeah,
ends up being a music show. It ends up being like a music show, but then you're actually talking about like food and like I'm nearly going to fishing as well. I fucking love fishing as well. But you
go
you
into
listen.
fishing, man.
Yeah, man. It's not. No, you were gonna ask a question, so I'm go ahead with your question there, bro.
Well, I was going to say the whole point of this show is like you're a musician, but as we said, you're also a person. And I think
That's
what I
it.
like about this is that it's we're here so that you get to be you authentically and so that you don't have to put on a show that and people when they listen to it they're like, I feel closer to
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
Like I understand him better. When I listen to the
Yeah,
music, I get a little bit of like I now know the guy behind the sound. And I think we don't get a lot of that from musicians. We get like the 5 minute
definitely.
radio interview. So that's what I want to avoid.
Yeah, 100%. Aye, that's a good point there. It's like everybody is their own person, and it's not just producer or DJ. It's like somebody that's had a lot of experience before that. So
Yeah.
definitely, man, it's been great talking and finding out about yourself as well.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, I didn't know that you did chefing before. So like again, all these people will be like, "Oh, the guy likes to cook and like he was a chef before." And who knows, they might start DMing you with like recipes and shit like that. Who knows where your
there's
fans could go.
a lot of layers to this whole thing. Like I used to chef, and I used to love cooking aspect of it. Maybe the hours weren't so great and all that there, but on my breaks, I used to do music. I used to do everybody else used to go and, go up the town and go sort of betting and stuff. And I used to just sit in the restaurant when it was sort of closed to the public, and I used to just make music. And sometimes they used to let me like play it through the sound system, like the restaurant sound system, and that was class.
That's
And
awesome.
it was it was good. Like, I remember making tunes and then playing it. Somebody had like a Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen at the end when we were cleaning down. I would put on my songs, and it was a great experience with people, but maybe it just wasn't right for me. But it's I made some good friends in there. So it
Yeah.
is.
And like it's the creativity. Like it's not uncommon for people to be in like that industry and like and then be
Yeah,
like, hey, I it's ticking a box, but it's not the right box. Like it's an itch, but I know it's not the one. And so
yeah,
yeah, it's I think that's what's amazing to me is like it's often a version of creativity that everybody has, and it's about finding the one that
yeah,
really matches with you.
exactly. Like I wouldn't rule out doing something with food in the future. Like say if my music took off and I could just take a back seat, I would love to do something to do with food. I wanted to own my own restaurant at one point when I was younger, but then I kind of just scrapped that. I didn't, but I definitely love to do something to do with food. Maybe not be directly involved with it, but have some kind of connection to it because it's something big in my life as well. So it's all about just focusing on it in the right way, I think, and not the way I was where I was chefing, where it's not so much a passion thing anymore. It's more just get it done and go, 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 busy, 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 and it's just you know it's mad. It's mad. Like the heat in the kitchen and all that there on a summer's day is like people would not understand. You've heat from the grill, you've heat from the outside, you're just like on fire basically in that kitchen. So yeah,
If you had to open a restaurant, like what was the idea of the restaurant you had?
can't even remember at the time, man. I was like maybe 15 or 16 when I had this idea, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna open my own restaurant. But I didn't even have a clue what I wanted at the time. Well, when we're younger, we don't really understand what we want, and it was just one of those things. Because I like cooking at home, I didn't really understand the industry. I probably would have just called it like Danny's restaurant or something like that, and done my own kind of food, risottos and the pastas and all that sort of stuff. Just things I like cooking. But you know, maybe in the future we never know. Might
Yeah,
get a comeback. Maybe a
yeah.
food stall or something like that would be good. That'd be good.
Danny's. Danny's might be here. It might be a point. I'll have to come to Ireland and check it out and like be
Yeah,
like,
Danny's. It'll be good food, I'll tell you that.
yeah, I'm
Good
convinced
food.
that, and we know the soundtrack's at least going to be good.
Yeah, well listen, we'll have the music blaring out the front anyway. Experience. Maybe we'll have a DJ at the side just
Yeah, and then you can show me, and then I'll be able to be like, well, this is a lot harder than it looks. Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Well, man,
definitely, bro.
I will ask you my final question because that was a roundabout way to get there. Um,
I know. Go, bro. Go
but
for it.
this is the only question that I planned on the show. It's probably the toughest question I'm going to ask. So, if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of, can be any genre of music, cannot be your own music, what would it be?
Jeez, I don't actually listen to albums. This is the thing, man. But would I be able to name like a single or like a song
Well, if
or
you can narrow it down to a song, I'd be
uh,
impressed.
hold on, I need to look it up too.
Yeah, you can
Could
look
you?
it up. Yeah, go look it up.
I'll look it up here because this is a really special song, I think. Let's see. And I'll see if it's on an album. Maybe it's a single.
Usually
Uh,
singles are part of albums. That's what they often are. I mean, maybe I'm talking hip hop that lead singles usually come through with album projects.
Let me see. There's this song. It's by Jonas Blue and Be First. I think they're like a band, and they made a song called "Don't Wake Me Up." It's like it's like a mix between kind of a bit of it's like a rock band and then dance music together, and it's got like pianos
Okay.
and stuff. Really emotional song. Like every time I hear it, it's just like a sort of song. I'm not too sure what album it's in. I'm gonna check that out, but it's by Jonas Blue and it's called "Don't Wake Me Up," and it's really really special song. It's just one of those songs where I think if I could get that feeling in one of my songs, then that I'll be doing well. Because that it mightn't be a popular song. It's not the most popular song, but it's got like a really deep sort of feeling to it, you know?
That's
And
even better. It's even
yeah,
better when it's not popular. Because then that's how you know it's a real pick. That's how you
yeah,
know
yeah,
like it's really for
exactly.
you.
I didn't pick it because of the streams. I picked it. That's a really special song, you know, and it has a meaning behind it. So yeah, that's definitely out there. It's a great song, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that
speaking of great songs, make sure you check out your man, Robert Dani. Man, been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. It's been great talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing your continued release and seeing you keep dropping music because definitely like it's been a great year so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing
yeah,
how you finish it out. And then, yeah, 2025 will be here in a moment's notice and up to the moon,
let's
man.
let's do it better next year. Do it
Yeah.
better double next year. So listen, thanks very much for having me on, and
No,
it's been a pleasure also, and we'll keep in touch for sure.
no
All
worries.
right.
Is there anything you wanted to shout out? Anything you wanted to plug before we wrap up?
Um. Uh. New release on SoundCloud is called In My Head. Go stream that. Go stream Walk With It. Go stream Can't Rely. Um. Can't Rely is my I'm the most proudest of producing that one. It's my original song, so go check that out. Can't Rely on Spotify. And that's basically it. Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries. My pleasure, man.